We are now live. So hello, everybody. Welcome to the celebration of Black History Month 2021. I'm your host, Mi Va, certified hypnotherapist, energy healer, and founder of Empower Mind Wellness in Long Beach. Thank you for joining us, whether you are tuning in live now or listening to the replay as we celebrate Black History Month. Today, we'll be honoring an African American who has made a big impact on my life as well as many lives across the globe. She is one of my favorite persons. She is a mentor, a role model, a successful entrepreneur, and a wonderful person. Her name is Janet Woods. It is my pleasure to introduce Janet Woods.
Hello, Mi. I am so excited to be here today. Thank you.
Hi, Janet. Hi, welcome. Actually, let me read your bio first. I was grabbing your bio. So I was gonna read your bio. Janet Woods, MSCD, MSc.D is an award-winning speaker, #1 best-selling co-author, and a recognized media personality. She is a master in the area of Asian Metaphysics, neural design, and nonverbal communication, with over 25 years of private practice. She has been featured on iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Blog Talk Radio. She has been seen on KABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. Janet is also the recipient of 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards from the White House and serves as the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force Chair for her Rotary District 5320. Please help me welcome Janet Woods.
Thank you, Mi, for that wonderful.
There you go.
Hello.
Hi, Janet. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me as a guest. I am so excited to share my life experience with your people, and it's a wonderful day here today in Southern California.
Yes, it is, and yes, and thank you for being here, Janet. Your life is very interesting and your work is very interesting. I have lots of questions. So shall we begin?
Yes, we shall.
Okay, so first question is, what is your title, MSc.D?
Okay, MSc.D has to do with a doctorate in metaphysics, with a specialty in regards to Asian metaphysics. And so sometimes people use the word doctor. Other people use MSc.D because we want to make sure that people understand I'm not a physician. And so it's much easier to use the MSc.D as a distinction inside of the study of Asian metaphysics.
Thank you for explaining that. I had no idea. So do we call you Dr. Woods, Dr. Janet Woods? What do people call you?
People call me, most people call me Janet. Some people that I have been working with over the last 25 years, they call me Dr. Janet, only because it's a term of endearment for them. But just call me Janet. That would be great.
Okay, wonderful. And so let's start off with, tell us about your company and the services you offer.
Okay, well, the name of my company is called The Art of Life. We create lives using harmony, wealth, and of course, health. We specialize in feng shui, which has to do with the flow of your life, neural design, which has to do how your space motivates you or demotivates you, depending upon what's going on in your life. We also do Asian astrology, because that tells us what your destiny is. We also do space clearing, having to do with energies that are unstable. We stabilize them and make them healthy. And then also Chinese face reading, which tells us the story of your life, which shows up on your face. And that's what we do at the Art of Life. We create lives. And I love my practice. I love my clients. And I love sharing Asian metaphysics because it's not something that you're going to learn in an average school.
That is so true. So your company is called the Art of Life, and you offer services, and you also teachers. You also teach, right?
Yes, I do. I am a teacher at the learnitlive.com. You can just look me up by name. There are some free classes there that you can take. I am also the founder of the Institute of Asian Metaphysics. Due to the pandemic, we are not operating right now, but we will start up in 2022.
Exciting. I can't wait because I miss your classes. I have taken some of your classes before, and it's just lovely and wonderful to be in your energy.
Thank you.
So you name of these different areas that you offer. We heard astrology, face reading, neurodesign. Tell us a little bit about what is Asian metaphysics. It's an umbrella, right? And so tell us more about what Asian metaphysics is.
Well, from the Asian perspective, we call it, there's a very famous quote, as above, so below. And so it's a more holistic approach to how people live their lives. And it's 5,000 years old. So inside of the metaphysical piece of what we do is we look at your environment, we look at your destiny, we look at your energy, your physical well-being, but also your spiritual well-being, so that you can have what we consider to be a very well-rounded life. Most people don't know that you need to have all of these. We as Americans, we tend to focus on two things. Those usually have to do with finance and romance. And in my practice, I help people understand that a lot of the things that aren't working in their lives has to do with a more holistic approach. It's not just one thing, it's the whole thing. And so with Asian metaphysics, we touch on all of that, so that you're not, how would I say this? You're grounded in being a good person and living a good life.
Thank you. Thank you. So, and then neurodesign, I have heard of feng shui. I have not heard of neurodesign. I've heard of, neurolinguistic programming. Would you give us a little more detail about neurodesign? You mentioned earlier about it, but will you give us more detail about neurodesign?
Absolutely. Neurodesign is how your nervous system interacts with your environment. Have you ever walked into a space and you feel very uncomfortable, but you don't know why? Well, it has to do with the neurodesign of the space. A space can either support you in who you're being, or it can demotivate you based on what is actually in the space. And one of the things that I have learned inside of neurodesign is that it is an offshoot of another science called neuroarchitecture. Neuroarchitecture is how buildings are built to support human activity. And with neurodesign, I've found that it also uses a piece of psychology where we use archetypes to identify what kind of energy you need to be in your space. And there are 5 archetypes. And based on those archetypes, it tells me what type of spaces and what type of, I want to say, accoutrements that need to be in your environment in order for you to be happy.
Okay, I totally need that. Okay, we're gonna talk afterward.
Yes.
Thank you. That was good. I have a better understanding now. I've never heard of that before. Is that also part of feng shui? Does it work with feng shui?
It works with feng shui because the goal of feng shui is for you to have a constant flow of energy so that your life can be vibrant. But with your nervous system, what happens is when you use neurodesign, brain and design, it comes together and all of the furnishings that you have in your house can be supportive.
Okay, excellent. Now, also on your bio is non-verbal communication.
Yes, nonverbal communication is better known as Chinese face reading. Chinese face reading is about 5,000 years old. And it came about because Chinese physicians were not allowed to touch their female patients. So they had to be able to read the body, but also to read that person as far as what was going on with them and their character. And so it's about 5,000 years old, and it came to the rest of the world through the Silk Road from China. And it's been used for thousands of years, and it's always been a big secret in the Chinese community. I teach a course at Cerritos College on how to read faces, and the people that show up in my class are always very interesting. They tend to be attorneys, doctors, teachers, human resource individuals, and they get it. They know that whatever is going on shows up on your face because we lie, but the face doesn't.
So true. So true. I have taken several of your classes, and the most memorable one is face reading. And this was in 2008 before the election. And I remember you were sharing with us that and your program, you have the program in the classes you teach publicly, and in your program class, your students were evaluating the face of Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. And based on the face reading, they predicted that Donald Trump would win.
Yeah.
At that time, I thought, no way. He's not going to win.
Yes.
And then he won, and I was stunned.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that stood out for me. So how accurate is face reading?
It's very accurate because everything that you have happening in your emotional life shows up on your face, whether it be a beauty mark on your face or your eyebrows that tell me if you are stubborn or if you're open. Your nostrils, if your nostrils are large, it tells me that you're really good at spending. But also there's so many different aspects that show up on the face that tell us a lot about the person's character. As far as when we were looking at the different candidates based on their facial features, it shows us not only who their character is, but also their destiny.
So what about the poker face? Can you read a poker face, or can somebody really put on a poker face? I know I can't. Everything shows in my face.
There is such a thing as a poker face, and it's not about the face itself as it is about their emotions and their feelings. Poker faces try and mask any type of emotion so that you can't tell what it is that they have in their cards. But with face reading, it tells you more about their character and if they're trustworthy, that type of thing. And so there is such thing as a poker face, but it has to do with your emotions, but not your actual face.
I see. So they're two separate things, the poker face and the face reading. Okay. Mm-hmm. Thank you. So you share with us about your work. We'd like to know about your personal side, the personal side of your life. So tell us about your background.
Well, in my personal life, I have, actually, this February, I just celebrated 19 years with my husband, Max. And we have a
Hold on. I'm going to know. Let's celebrate that. Awesome. Yes. Congratulations.
Yes. We celebrated 19 years. Also, we have a little dog named Oreo. He is a little black and white Chihuahua, and he thinks he's a human. He weighs 6 pounds, but sometimes he's the most powerful person in our house.
Chihuahuas are.
Yeah, yes, they are. And what I love about my relationship with my husband and I have an interracial relationship. So my husband is Jewish, I am not. And what's really wonderful is that when we got together, just when we were dating, I wasn't sure how my family was going to handle it. And so I had a conversation with my dad, and my dad's like, I'm not telling your mother, you're going to have to do it yourself. I'm like, I think I can handle this. And so my family totally embraced him. And my husband is an only child, and so he is just delighted to have sisters and a mom and a dad, and because both of his parents were deceased when we met. And so we have a pretty wonderful life. Both of us are lifelong learners, and my husband is an accounting person, and he also does mortgages, and so he's very left brain, and I am not. So it makes for a very interesting relationship.
It makes for a very balanced relationship. And I just want to say something about, Max. I had the honor to meet him, a few times, and he is very supportive of you. He supports your
Yes.
work. He is a gentleman, just wonderful, open-minded, very warm. And he has, supported me a few times when I needed him, just openly offer his service and very gracious. So you picked a good man.
I'm very blessed.
And thank you, Max. So tell us, like where were you born and what was like growing up being African American?
I'm originally from Akron, Ohio, and my parents moved to California so that we could have a better life. And growing up, my parents moved into a predominantly white suburb of Los Angeles called Morningside Park, which is also part of Inglewood. So when we were living there, most of our neighbors were white, and over a period of time, they all left, and it became more of an interracial neighborhood. But I grew up very middle class. My mom was a housewife until my sister graduated from high school. When my sister graduated from high school, my mom went on to go to college and get a bachelor's and a master's and then start teaching. And what I love about my upbringing is that I was always taught never to give up and to always give back. And that's how I've lived my life.
And so thank you. Now tell us, how did you get into Asian metaphysics?
That's
a story that I always wonder.
I was working at Xerox as a customer service manager. And one evening I was at home watching 60 Minutes, and Ed Bradley, who was the first African-American reporter on 60 Minutes, was interviewing Larry Ellison, who was the founder of Oracle. And Larry was showing him around his new offices, and he started talking about having a feng shui master come in and set up his office. And he had this great energy there. And because of that, the business had tripled. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but I have to have it. And so I set out trying to find someone that would teach me feng shui. And it was really difficult because number one, I was an Asian. Number two, I was a woman. Most feng shui masters the field itself is predominantly male and Asian. And then on top of that, at that time when I started studying, feng shui was very much like karate. It was kind of like when Bruce Lee brought karate to America. It was like, you can teach anyone Asian, but no one out of that. And so feng shui was very much like that. But I was really fortunate. My first feng shui teacher, her name is Lillian Bridges, and she was part Asian and part American, and she had learned feng shui and face reading from her grandmother. And she's like, oh, come down to my school. I will teach you everything you need to know. And I was like, everything? And so I studied with her for several years, and then she pushed me out of the nest. She's like, Janet, there's more than one way to do feng shui. You go out there and you learn as much as you can. She goes, because you're destined to help a lot of people. And so that's kind of how I got into feng shui.
Wow. Thank you. So before meeting you, I consider myself to be a positive person. And then I met you and I saw how positive you were, and you still are. You took positiveness to a whole new level.
Oh, thank
that
you.
I have never seen before, that I strive to be, but I'm not even there yet. The way you carry yourself, you're graceful,
Oh,
you are positive, you even have positive things to say about people who are challenging, situations that are tough. You just carry yourself so gracefully and calmly, and like, I want that. So was that something you were born with, or how did you get to be that way?
if you were to ask my three younger sisters, they would tell you that I'm the firstborn, and so I wasn't always calm. I wasn't always gentle. But when I started studying feng shui, part of that is studying the Tao. And so inside of metaphysics, there are different avenues in which, in order for you to be really good at your craft, you need to master. So you need to be able to master your emotions. You need to be able to get centered. And the most important thing that you have to have is empathy. And so when I am working with someone that is difficult, I imagine myself as them. One of the things I've also found in my practice is usually the most terrible person has been hurt somewhere in their life. And so they're lashing out thinking that that is the way to go about it. And so when I look at people, I see the good in them. Don't get me wrong, there are some people that work my last nerve. I try and come from a place of nurturing and love. And it's a practice. It doesn't, come overnight, but it comes from being able to interface with all kinds of different people. My I guess I would say that my experience in customer service taught me a lot about people and their motives and how to help them, because it really is all about helping people.
So you say that by learning Asian metaphysics, one of the things is they teach you to control your emotions.
Yes.
Okay.
And
So if I stick with the program, I can learn to control my emotion.
oh, well, here's something that you need to remember. It's easier for people when they know that you come from a space of wanting to support. Because one of the things I found is that sometimes people will take my kindness for weakness. And so when I'm experiencing that, I shift my focus or my energy onto how can this person get what they need without hurting me? And that really helps. Inside of the Tao, there's so much information about how to carry yourself, how to view the world, how to interact with people. Also, meditation really helps. I'm not really good at regular meditation. I'm not a sit and be quiet person, but I do my meditations by walking. And so walking meditations, it helps me release energy. It helps me come up with new ideas. But that is my form of meditation. And then I also practice mindfulness, which is probably one of my hardest practices, which is being present.
Thank you. You mentioned inside the Tao. Is there is that a book? Is that what do you mean by inside the Tao?
You can get the book. It's called the Tao I Ching. And it's a series of essays and quotes that was written by Lao and thousands of years ago. And one of the things inside of the book is that, well, I guess there's a story connected to that. And the Tao came about because he was leaving China because he was mad at everybody there because they weren't living the best life that they could. And he had all of this information. And so before he left China, he gave this information to someone else. And that person started collecting the information and sharing it, and it spread through China. And so it's a book, but it is also a series of quotes. And it's one of those texts that you really have to go deep. I do know that Wayne Dyer, before his passing away, he wrote a book that is based on the Tao that is absolutely fabulous. And so I would recommend that book. I can't remember the title, but I can get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Now let's talk about, we're celebrating Black History Month. What does Black History Month mean to you?
You know, when I was growing up in my household, the only time we learned anything about Black history was through our parents. There wasn't anything written in the history books. There weren't anything having to do with the Black contribution to the United States. And so because we now celebrate Black History Month, it is an opportunity for the rest of the world to understand how we as African Americans have shaped everyone's lives because of who we are. If it wasn't for African Americans, I don't think that our nation would exist. And of course, that's just my personal opinion. But we have quite a bit of contribution. And so every month or every February, people all over the world get to know about the different contributions. And I learned from my own experience a lot of the things that have happened in my life. I'm usually either the first or I'm the second inside of doing something. And I really want to commend Kamala Harris because she said, I may be the first, but I'm not the last. And that's how I've been living my life. So I really, am so excited about all the wonderful things that we as a community are doing to make our nation and the world better.
Yes, and I agree with you on the contribution of African Americans. The one that stands out the most to me is equality.
Yes.
Diversity. And from an early age, I realized that, I remember back in grade school and we would talk about Martin Luther King. And I have to write an essay about it. And I realized that without the fight, I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't have the opportunity, to be in the US. I wouldn't have the right that was given to me at that time. And so at an early age, I appreciated the contribution of the African Americans. And the fight continue to, the fight for equality continue. But there's so many areas where the African community, individuals and community contribute to not just America, but the world. And so, yes, we do need to take a moment and appreciate that and also highlight that. And that's why I'm having this conversation with you, because I want to honor you and your work and share you with those who don't know about you.
Well, I really appreciate it. I've always enjoyed our talks together, and I'm really happy to share my life because I want to believe that anybody that is watching this event, that they're going to be able to use the information that I'm sharing to make their life better.
And I'm sure they will, just as I have. And so being an African-American woman entrepreneur,
yes.
What are some of the challenges that you experienced?
Well, I live in Orange County, California, which is predominantly Caucasian. And so, and plus being in an interracial relationship, my husband and I, whenever we're out in public, we get a lot of stares. And so my husband has learned how to ignore that. I've been ignoring it all my life, but it's always a new experience for him, depending upon where we're going. I have been stopped by the police for driving black, meaning they stopped me for no apparent reason. I just happened to be in a different neighborhood where they're not accustomed to seeing Black people. I also, my poor husband, one day we went shopping at the mall and we got separated and I was looking at something. And so my husband was observing this person that was following me through the store. And he was like really upset. And he goes, "Didn't you notice that they were following you?" I go, "This happens all the time." And I go, "I'm not doing anything wrong. So as long as I'm not doing anything wrong, I don't have to worry about that." But he was worried. But, I do from time to time get followed when I'm shopping. And so it's just, part of the African American experience.
But it doesn't have to be that way. It shouldn't be a part of their experience. Nobody should live their life, like that, being followed, being mistrusted until they have committed some crime.
Yes, but it happens all over America. My experience is not singular, and it is, it's just something that you become accustomed to as an African American or as a person of color. It doesn't even have to be a Black person. You can be, Chinese. You can be Latinx. You can just look different than everybody else that they've experienced. And you know what? It allows me to understand that whatever is going on, it's a teaching moment for them.
Yes. Spiritually speaking, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I remember you mentioned Orange County. I also live in Orange County, and I remember living in LA, which is very diverse, and everything I was able to go and be who I am. Nobody gives me the look. Nobody cares. And then I got a job in Orange County, and we moved to Orange County. And I remember the first time during my lunch break, I went to a store in Orange County in Irvine, and I just got the biggest shock. I was looked upon like I'm an alien just landed. And they didn't do anything to me, but just the look and the way they treated me was shocking.
Yes.
So now with a lot of the Asian communities now moving in, things are different. I don't get that kind of look anymore. But yeah, that was shocking, to me over 20 years ago.
Yeah. But the Orange County community has shifted. Don't get me wrong, because I think I've been living in Orange County for about 25 years. And so it's gotten better. But now with our younger people, I find them really fascinating because they don't have any tolerance for that. They call it out. And so it's been really interesting. And the city of Irvine has a large Asian community. And right now, with all of the hate crimes having to do with the Asian community, I worry about them.
So go young people, speak up,
go.
stand up. Yes. Yeah, I'm so grateful. A lot more Asians are moving into Orange County, so I don't stand out anymore. I can just be me everywhere I go. So you mentioned how your experience, how you were treated. Was there any like direct experience of discrimination or racism?
I would say, if it was direct, it didn't impact me in any way, or I didn't really notice it. My husband is probably the one that has the scorecard about discrimination. You did this and you did that, and they said this, and I was like, well, I just, move forward and live my life. And so I'm really blessed. I did experience it when I was in the corporate world, because, being a woman in the corporate world, you're usually considered second and not first. And so I experienced that as a manager. Also looking at the board as far as people that make decisions about companies. It was difficult for me to be on a board because being a woman and also being Black. And so I started my own board. I think I learned that from my parents. Start your own. You don't need theirs. And so in that way, I have experienced discrimination, but things are changing, whereas women are becoming more in the forefront, and a lot of them are doing what I did, where I started my own board. And so that, as far as discrimination, I've experienced it, but I haven't let it affect who I am.
Good. I am. Yeah, I admire your strength, and I admire how you handled that. I don't know how I would have handled it if I experienced the same thing that you experienced. I experienced, some discrimination, but not to the level that you have. And that's why you're my role model. Just watching you and looking at you handle things, I can learn a lot from you.
Oh, well, thank you.
So tell us about the biggest challenge that you have overcome.
Oh, my goodness. Well, one of the biggest challenges I overcame was having my own business. Keep in mind that I worked for Xerox for a number of years, and my division closed. And so I had the option of finding another job within the Xerox Corporation. And I decided I wanted to practice feng shui. And so I started my practice, and it was a big challenge because my forte in the corporate world was customer service, not selling. And so I had to learn how to sell. That in itself was and continues to be quite an experience. But I remember my Aunt Olivia. I called her one day crying. And at that time, she was working, I think, she herself was going to law school and working a full-time job at AT&T. And so she let me have my little cry. And then she said, Janet, get a pen and write this down. So I wrote down exactly what she said. And she goes, I want you to go to the bookstore and I want you to get this book and call me when you've read it. And I was like, okay, I'll go. So I get to the bookstore, I get the book, and I did exactly what you told me to. I read the book. I did everything that the book suggested, and my business took off. And the name of the book is How to Make a Living Without Having a Job. And, I still have it somewhere here in my bookshelf because it was what was my biggest challenge that launched my career.
How to make a living without having a job. Awesome book. I just want to read the comments from our listener. And to our listener, if you have any questions, go ahead and type it in, and we will ask Janet those questions. So Cheryl said, congratulations to you and Max. And Jackie Lee says, we love you, Dr. Janet. Great to hear from you. Thank you, me, for hosting. So thank you, Cheryl and Jackie.
Oh, thank you.
And now, so let's talk a little bit about Chinese astrology and feng shui.
Okay.
I'm sure that a lot of people heard of feng shui and as well as Chinese astrology because I think it's more out there now. And this is the year of the ox.
Yes.
So, I am a skeptic. Not feng shui. I know feng shui works because I'm an energy healer, so I work with energy, and I've learned feng shui as well. But Chinese astrology, it just seems like a one size fits all. So, is it accurate? And how do people use Chinese astrology? Can you enlighten one?
Yes, I'm happy.
Help me to remove my doubt.
Well, here is what is different about Chinese astrology and why some people believe that it's not accurate. There are probably, I think there are 4 different schools of Chinese astrology. And I'm trained in all 4, which is really helpful. But the Chinese astrology is different than the Western astrology because when Chinese astrology was developed, they separated the astronomers from the astrologers. And so there are no planets inside of of Chinese astrology. And so astronomy and astrology are not together. And their astrology is based on nature. And so it deals with the 5 elements, which are different than the Western school. And then they also deal with animals. So instead of having 12 planets, the Chinese astrology has 12 animals. And each animal has its own distinct characteristics. And each animal has a cycle. So every 12 years, there's a cycle that changes who we are on the planet. And also Chinese astrology, even though Western astrology is based on your birthday and the time you were born, in Chinese astrology, we look at your birthday when you were born, but we also look at the year in which you were born has to do with your grandparents, not necessarily you. The month in which you were born has to do with your parents. The day in which you were born has to do with yourself, and the hour in which you were born has to do with your children or your dynasty. And so inside of the 4 pillars of astrology, we look at all of that because all of us are, I want to say, we interact with everyone that is part of our legacy, and that impacts the information about what your life is going to be like. And so I find the Chinese astrology to be more accurate. Not that there's anything wrong with the Western school, but for myself and in my practice, I have found that the Chinese astrology is accurate. And also it gives you more information. I have a calendar that I've created for my clients. It's called the Wealth and Destiny Calendar. And in that calendar, it tells you what kind of things to do on a certain day. Because as entrepreneurs, we know that timing is everything. Mm-hmm. And so this particular calendar, it tells you your good days and your bad days. And so you get 365 days at the beginning of Chinese New Year, which is about to end this Saturday. And you know exactly what's going on the planet based on your birth information. And no 2 calendars are alike. As a matter of fact, I have mine here. Let's see.
Yeah, show us what that looks like.
Okay. I don't know if you can see it.
Put it there. Yes, put it closer to the camera.
Okay.
There you go. Awesome.
And so if you can see it, it says, you know, like today, it's a good day for family and romance. I think that's near the bottom. And I think on Sunday, I'm going to have a bad day.
So what do you do when it says you're going to have a bad day?
That's a day where I do self-care. So you get up late, I, take a bath, I light candles. I just don't stress myself out. And I try not to do anything that's too important because, there's always tomorrow. But I love what I do inside of Chinese astrology because it helps people really understand themselves.
What does it mean when it says you're going to have a bad day? Or because you made one for me, actually I have 2 from you for 2 years, and it says today is going to be an auspicious day for wealth. Today is, an all-around bad day, which means it's an inauspicious day. What does that mean when it's a day is auspicious or inauspicious, and it's energetically speaking?
Well, let me put it in layman terms. What it means is that each one of us has a Chinese animal. And in the Chinese astrology calendar, which is made up of 1,000 days, that particular day may have an animal that is the opposite of you, which that energy on the earth plane makes it a bad day for you. And so that's when you do self-care and you take care of yourself. But that's how that particular day comes about. It's based on a 1,000-year-old calendar. And, the Chinese, they have been doing this for thousands of years. And then they also have an oral tradition inside of all of the metaphysical arts, which is handed down from master to student.
Mhm. So should people be afraid when they have the calendar and it said today's a bad day?
No, they should. Well, it would be like, remember when you were going to school, they said, oh, you get the day off. And you're like, yay! So I tell my clients, consider it to be a day off from school. Go have fun. Don't do anything serious.
So for us entrepreneurs, we have more flexibility with schedules, so we can do self-care, we could, slow down. But most of the people who have a 9-to-5 job where it can be very demanding and they don't have the time to do self-care, what would you recommend for them?
I would recommend, if the calendar shows that they're supposed to have a bad day or beware of problems, is to be more alert, especially when it says to beware of problems. Because the Chinese, they have a symbol where I think on the top it's something bad and on the bottom it's opportunity. And so for people that are working 9 to 5, when it says generally a bad day, you just want to be aware, don't take things personal, and lighten up.
So in another way, you can change the energy.
You can change the energy, but it might not prevent what is coming. That's the catch.
Yes.
But if you have a calendar and you know it's going to be generally a bad day, then your mindset is totally different. It's because it's not something that you did. It's something that's out there in the universe. And when you don't internalize something like that, life becomes a lot easier.
Yes. Would you show the cover of that? And can you show us, if people are interested to get that, how would they be able to get their own personalized Chinese astrology calendar?
You can visit my website at janetwoods.com, and you can sign up and get a consultation, which comes with the book, and also any personal coaching that you may need throughout the year. Mine doesn't have a cover because I use mine all the time. And plus it's mine, so I don't have a cover on it. But the book, it has about 60 pages, because not only does it come with your good days and your bad days, it also gives you your numerology for the year. It also gives you your archetype as far as neurodesign. And in addition to that, you also get your personal mantras. Each person, when we do your Chinese astrology, the astrology shows that there are 3 things that affect you that are more personal to you based on your birthday. And so we create mantras for you to use to keep you focused on the 3 things that are most important to you.
One of the things that I really appreciate about that book is you have the new moon and the full moon, and you put in this beautiful Chinese foil paper, and you would set a new moon, write down your intentions. On the full moon, write down all the stuff you want to get rid of, and then, take that piece of paper out, write it in, and then burn it or shred it, And so I love that, because everything is there, and the Chinese foil paper, they're beautiful, and you can just pull them out of the page and do that.
Yes, people really, really enjoyed that.
It's therapeutic too.
It is too.
I want to get rid of that.
Well, we call it moon wisdom. And inside of moon wisdom, we have cycles just like the earth. And so whenever there's a full moon, we know that people are a little out of sorts and they're very emotional. And so this is a great time for people to release things. This coming Saturday, it is a full moon. It is also the Lantern Festival in China. But when it's a new moon, that's when you write down your intentions, because you have the energy of the new moon in order to create new beginnings or new prosperity.
Thank you. And Janet's website is written below. So if you look at below, is www.janetwoods.com. You can go there to learn more about her and get the book and the consultation.
Yes.
So now, so many of our listeners and clients that I work with have experienced some form of trauma or abuse. How can feng shui or Chinese astrology or the work that you do, Asian Metaphysics, how can that help them?
What I know about people that have suffered abuse or trauma is that when you change their environment, it changes how they feel about themselves and what happened to them. A lot of trauma victims, whatever the trauma was, they return back to where it happened and they relive it over time based on the environment. And so changing the environment and putting in what we call motivational triggers so that the trauma or experience that you've had is allowed to release itself from yourself, but also from the space itself. Inside of my practice, I also do space clearing, which is an energy modality that gets rid of the energy of, I want to say, negativity. I don't believe that there's such thing as good or bad energy. I believe that either there's good energy or there's energy that's stuck. So when a person experiences trauma in a space, that trauma stays there until someone like me comes along and clears it out. And, you know, Einstein, he always said, you can not destroy energy, you can only recreate it. And so in working with trauma and abuse, we've been able to help that person go on with their lives, removing things that are reminders of trauma or putting in different features for them so that they can move forward in their life. It's a very powerful tool when it comes to trauma and abuse.
I love that about clearing the space and clearing the energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so speaking of energy, if somebody moves into a home that there were trauma that happened there and they didn't clean it, would that energy affect the new occupant's life and their energy and prosperity?
Yes. You hear about this all the time, but you don't really pay that much attention to it until it happens to you. I had a person call me because they were going to buy a house, and the neighbors had told them that that house had been sold 3 or 4 times, and all the times that it was sold, it was because the people were getting a divorce.
Oh dear.
And so they called me and they said, we want to buy this house. It's our dream house, but everybody that's lived here has had a divorce. And so it had that energy within the walls. And so we worked together, we cleared the energy, we, you know, set up the house so that they would have this great life, which they do today. I can tell you that I have a real estate investor who had a property where a person had passed away in a suicide. And they did everything. They remodeled the house and they couldn't sell it. And they're like, we don't know why we can't sell it. And I was like, because somebody committed suicide there. But of course, we disclose it and people are fine, but we can't lower the price anymore. What should we do? And so I went to the house and cleared the energy, and it sold within a week.
Wow. Wow.
We as human beings, we don't realize it, but we're very sensitive to the vibration of emotion. And so all of us have experienced something where we've gone someplace and we're not quite comfortable and we don't know why. And it's because of the energy of the space where something tragic or something terrible may have happened, or it is something that is not quite right for us.
And so that's where neurodesign and feng shui would come in. Do you use both of them
I
together?
use both together. Mm-hmm. It's
Beautiful.
kind of like you have a right shoe and a left shoe. You don't want to leave without both of your shoes on.
Oh, that would not be pleasant.
So we one of the things we do is that we take a look at the aesthetics, what kind of things are going to be supportive of you, what kind of things need to be in your environment on a conscious and an unconscious level so that you feel grounded. And when you feel grounded, you have the ability to have a great life. And so that's why it's neurodesign, and it's also feng shui.
Thank you. And I want to share a comment, see if I can pull it up on the screen. There we go. Joyce Penn said, Dr. Janet is a talented, gifted feng shui expert. Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you, Joyce.
Okay, so on to more questions. I hope our listeners are enjoying this. If you have a question or comment, please go ahead and type it in, and I'll get to you as quickly as I can. So how do your services help people to have more peace in their life and more prosperity in their business or in their career?
Well, my practice is a little different. For a lot of feng shui experts, they will come out and redesign the energy and change your space, and then they're done. But I know from a personal experience and also the experience of my clients is that feng shui is never done. Because as soon as you receive what it is that you're seeking, you're on to the next thing, and that changes the energy. So my practice is not based on just a visit. It's based on an annual retainer where we work together for a year. And I can share with you a little story about one of my clients. Her and her husband, they had been working on having a baby for pretty close to 5 years, and it wasn't happening. And so I started working with them. And so through working with them for a year, at the age of 41, she became a mom. Well, guess what? Even though she wanted to become a mom, she'd never been a mom, and all of her friends were all single. They were like, we don't know anything about kids. And so year 2, it was all about, making sure that the foundation for a child, and, their whole household changed because now they had a baby, and her and her husband, and, all the things that go into raising a child. And so we have worked together for, I think he is 16 now. So we worked together for 16 years because every year the things that you want out of life change. So your environment changes. And so you want to make sure that you have everything in order for you to get supported.
That is so true. And I'm glad you brought that up because, we tend to think you come and clear the house once and we're good. But you come and do feng shui once and we're good. But we're changing, the energy is changing.
Yes.
I also know a few feng shui consultants who specialize in the very traditional feng shui, where every year you need to get a feng shui done because something has changed. The year has changed, the moon, the sun has changed, and so the direction of your bed needs to be changed. And the feng shui that you practice, is that similar or is it more flexible?
That's the beauty of being a lifelong learner. There are 9 schools of feng shui.
Wow.
No 2 are different. The only thing that is the same out of these 9 schools is the 5 elements. And so the one that you're referring to, we call it flying star. And the belief is that every year the planet, because it shifts, the stars change. And so because the stars change, the energy changes. So you need to change your feng shui. And so that's just one. But I practice all 9 depending upon the client that I'm working with. When I first started my practice, I went to visit, a SCORE, which is a group of retired professionals who are helping young entrepreneurs. And so I told him, I'm a feng shui expert and blah, 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 blah. And he goes, I don't know what that is, but your target market, they're Asian. I'm like, okay. He goes, you should market to the Asian market. And I was like, are you sure? And he goes, oh yeah. And he was right, because I started marketing to the Asian community, and they totally embraced me because I understood their culture. I understood the different types of feng shui that they were seeking. And plus, I didn't look like a feng shui person. In the Asian community, when the feng shui master comes to your house, your neighbors gossip about you because there's something wrong.
Oh,
So here I am coming to visit them, and their neighbors have no idea what I'm there for. And so they get to keep their secret about what's going on in their household.
interesting. So your target market, are they still Asian? I find that a lot of my clients and people I meet, they are very diverse group, and many of them are interested in feng shui. So I thought that it's no longer just the Asian community, but do you still find that it's the Asian community who are your target clients?
Mhm. What I have found, I can only speak about my experience and my client base, is that as young people start to buy real estate, they never buy in the Asian community. They never buy anything unless it's been okayed by grandma or by a feng shui expert.
Hmm.
And usually, when they're buying the house, they usually invite grandma to come with them and check it out, because it's very well versed inside of their culture. And so grandma's like, no, you can't buy that house because the stairs are right in front of the front door. Or you can't buy that house because the back door and the front door are together. And so it's very prevalent. You don't hear about it because it's very cultural in the Asian community. And when I say Asian community, each Asian community has their own form of feng shui. The
Mm-hmm.
Vietnamese have a different feng shui. People that live in Singapore, they have a different one. People in Japan, they don't call it feng shui, but they have certain things that they do within their household. And so knowing more than one form of feng shui is very important if you're going to continue and have a thriving practice. And that's what I loved about my first teacher, Lillian Bridges. She told me, Janet, get out there, because there's so much. There's so much. And I can never say that I know everything, because we as a community or as a society, as we change, so does our feng shui. I'll give you an example. The pandemic has changed so many different aspects when it comes to feng shui, because of social distancing and because the amount of people in a household.
Mm. I can see what you mean. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
shift the energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So thank you so much for sharing about feng shui, examples. It's been so much fun hanging out with you. We're coming to the close of this program, and who are your mentors or role models?
Oh my goodness. I have so many, but I can tell you that one of my all-time favorite mentors is Mark Victor Hansen.
Mm.
I had the opportunity to get mentored by him right before Max and I got married. And he used to tease me because he would call me Locks because of my hair, and he would call my husband Bagels. And so he taught me about living and leaving a legacy. He's like, Janet, he goes, you need to get out there. You need to write a book. You need to be doing interviews. You need to tell people who you are, because they're out there waiting for you. And if they don't know who you are, you can't make an impact. And then he also taught me, he goes, Janet, you need to become a millionaire so that you can give a charity $100,000. I was like, why? He goes, because you're all about giving, remember? I go, yeah. And I go, but $100,000? And he goes, yeah. He goes, that's your goal. And so he also taught me about goal setting. So I really, I'm really grateful for him. Another one of my mentors or people that I really admire is Michelle Obama. She, when she had that incident where she said, when they go low, you go high. I've lived my life that way, but to hear someone else say it and live it out in public was pretty cool. And then another one of my mentors is Tim Ferriss, the 4-Hour Work Week.
Yes.
Yes, he's one of my favorites. Listen to his podcast all the time because it keeps me in that, lifelong learner aspect, but it also helps me understand the business landscape and how it quickly changes based on technology. Technology has changed so many of our lives, and the ability to outsource things that you're not good at is very important, but understanding new technology and old technology and how it intersects with the new technology is very important. Another one of my mentors, and I want to give her a shout out, is Beth. I want to say hi to you, Beth, to let you know that if it were not for Beth, I would not be in Rotary International. In July, I will be the first African-American woman to be the president of a digital club here in Orange County. And for 2 years, she bugged me. She goes, you like charity work. And I was like, no, I don't like charity work. I like giving to charities. And she goes, no, you want to get your hand. She goes, you just got an award from the White House for your charitable contributions for a lifetime. She goes, how are you going to follow that up? And I was like, I don't know. She goes, you need to join Rotary so you can continue. And so I joined. I've been a member for 3 years, and it has impacted not only my life, but millions of lives. Last year, when the pandemic started, my district came together and created face shields so that the first responders would be able to have some PPP because it wasn't being provided. I mean, there's so many things that I've had the opportunity to be involved in as far as being part of Rotary. And so, Beth, thank you so much. I love you.
I love it that you say you have lots of mentors and role models.
Yes.
And, it does take a village. And so one person is not enough. One mentor, it's great, but you're going to need more mentor if you want to diversify, if you want to learn more. And
Yes.
I used to have this belief from other teachers that you can only have one teacher. And if you go in, for example, you learn all 9 schools of feng shui, right? I might have problem with that because the belief that I was raised in was that if you learn from one master, you stay loyal to that master. And if you go learn it from another master, then you are disloyal. So I had a hard time with the loyalty things because my mind and heart want to learn other things. And hearing you say you learn all 9 and that your teacher just push you off the nest and go learn from others, that's really wonderful. And that's why you're my role model. You're leading the way, showing us what's possible. And you don't have to be stuck on one or another.
No.
Everybody can be your teacher and you can learn from everybody. You can have more than one teacher.
You can have more than one teacher. I am forever grateful to Lillian. She changed my life and allowed me to change other people's lives. And there are some teachers out there that will tell you they are the way. I can only say that they may be the way at the time, but not all the time. Because it's not about, for me, it wasn't about trust as it is about being a knowledge seeker so that you can help more people.
Exactly. Thank you. And so what is your wish for people across the world?
My wish is that people have the ability to create environments that are going to make them the best person possible. A lot of people, they spend money and time on education. They spend money on things. But the most important thing you can do is to create an environment that you're going to be nurtured in. When you do that, all the rest of it comes, because you are the master of your destiny.
So true. So true. And that's a beautiful wish.
Thank you.
And what is your message to our listener, or anything that you would like to share that we haven't talked about?
Well, I did talk a little bit about the Tao, and I'm going to give you my favorite quote from the Tao. When you master others, it is strength. When you master yourself, that is true power.
Repeat that. Say that one more time.
Mm-hmm. You can master others. When you do that, mastering others is strength, but mastering yourself is true power.
So true and powerful. I can feel that power. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
And so, Janet, we'll come to the close of our program. I wish we can keep on going, because I'm just having so much fun now hanging out with you. If anybody wants to reach you, where do they go?
They can go to my website at janetwoods.com to get more information. They can also email me. My email is janet@janetwoods.com. It's pretty easy. If they want to connect in social media, it would be Dr. Janet Woods. And so that's on Instagram, on Facebook, and I do believe Twitter as well.
Thank you.
So it's easy to connect with me.
Yes. And I have Janet's website down below as well, janetwoods.com.
Yes.
And I highly recommend you guys to get to know her. She's wonderful. She's one of my favorite posting. She's a role model and a mentor, and she makes a big difference in my life. And I continue to count on her and bug her when I need something.
Oh,
so,
you are a true lifelong learner. So whenever you have a question and I have the answer, I'm either happy to share it or send you in the right direction.
Thank you. Thank you. So Janet, thank you so much for being you, for being the person that you are. And thank you for doing the work that you do and taking the time to learn all that you have learned, so that you can share that with us. Because you're right. If somebody wants to learn Asian metaphysics, where do they go to learn that? And you provide like a whole university, right, for that?
Yes, I do. And we will start up again in 2022.
Awesome.
And I also want to thank you for honoring me, and especially during Black History Month. I am so touched by this. And thank you for letting me share who I am, what I do. And I want to thank all the listeners. I hope that you got lots of information. And if you want to contact me, that will be great. Also, Me is an amazing energy healer, hypnotherapist. Mindset is very important. So when you can change your mindset, you also can change so many things in your life. So I highly recommend that you meet with me. She does all different modalities. I had the honor of doing a class with her where I got an opportunity to meet my future self. So if you ever have an opportunity to do that, Me is the person. There are very few people that do that. And so when I met my future self, I was like, okay, regular self, hurry up. So thank you for the work that you do.
Oh, thank you for that, Janet. Thank you. And so I want to honor you for Black History Month. And to our listeners, thank you so much for spending time with us, for hanging out with us. And if you would like to get in touch with me, I'll give you my website. Here it is. It's empowermindwellness.com. Empowermindwellness.com is down below. And so we're going to close this program Thank you, everybody. I look forward to seeing you guys again in a future video. Go and have a great day and look up Jenna Woods.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.